and it's going to come on. Okay, so thanks for joining us today. I'm going to be interviewing a dear friend and client. This is TIffany. TIffany, if you want to just introduce yourself and explain your background a little bit, and then we can go into some good questions.
Sure. I started working with Renee in May of 2018. And at that time, I was 240 pounds. And I, on my own, had only managed to lose about 5 pounds with a lot of working out and running and just generally being miserable, but not really doing anything in the kitchen. And at that point, it was so hard because my hips were hurting, my back was hurting. I was waking up in the morning hurting, and I was having difficulty breathing when I would lay down. My husband was kind of afraid too, because he would have to wake me up at night because I would stop breathing. And so that's when I kind of decided, okay, it's probably time to do something about this. And I thankfully had Renee in my life, and she was talking about how she had a background in behavior. What is it, Renee? It's behavior what?
Behavior analysis.
Behavior analysis, and then also in nutrition, holistic nutrition even. So I don't know if we'll get to that, but I know there is a wide variety as far as nutrition goes.
Yes,
And
yes, right.
And so, yeah. So that's me.
Okay, yeah, that's exciting. So when we first started together, can you tell me a little bit about what we did initially, or what have you tried? What did you try in the past?
I really just tried working out. Like the first thing that anyone goes to is working out. So I've had Beachbody on demand forever. And I was running with a friend of mine at the walk park. We were trying to do the couch to 5K, which, oh my gosh, we could never get past week like 2.5. I don't know about anyone else, but it gets brutal. It starts out really easy, but then it gets so hard. So we tried that, and it wasn't her. It was probably me, actually. That was the reason that we couldn't continue. But I just tried working out, and that didn't work. I didn't get results like I felt like I should for as hard as I was working.
Yes. And that is so frustrating. I think our society today makes us feel like we have to eat less and exercise more. And if we're not seeing results, it's something wrong with us, not so much what we're doing, but there's a fault in us. And so I think that's really hard because we're taught that, just work out more and just move more and you'll lose it. So when we first started working together, can you tell me, what was like the first thing that we did? How did we, what did we begin with?
So the first thing you did was have me track my food for 3 days, which on the MyFitnessPal app. And there, especially in the beginning, there was a learning curve, of course. But I realized quickly that because it's just like with our clothes, I think, we all have these big wardrobes, but we wear like 5 shirts and 5 pair of shorts consistently. Well, I think it's very similar with your diet. You may have a wide variety of things that you eat, but overall, a lot of stuff that you eat, you're really going to be eating either on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So what I found was that once I got some of my favorite foods loaded in, it became much easier. And also just the tracking of it, even for that first 3 days, I was a little more cognizant of what I was putting in my mouth, because I was like, oh, I don't want Renee to see this. My goodness. So I think I even started losing weight right away, because I was like, holy cow, I can't eat a whole pizza. So that's what we did. We just started with macro tracking.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. So with a lot of my clients and something that I do for myself, I just think it's really good to track your food, not in an obsessive way where you're worried about like measuring and weighing, but just to give you some parameters and some guidelines. Because sometimes we don't even know what we're eating, and we're not nourishing our bodies. I think that's one of the things I find is that we're overfed and undernourished. So we're not getting enough protein, or we're not getting enough. I know carbs really have a bad rap nowadays, and we're not eating enough carbs, things like that. So tell me, can you explain a little bit about when you started tracking, what you noticed as far as where like the food was coming from? Did you notice like, hey, I'm really under eating one thing and overeating another?
I think I was pretty carb heavy, is what I noticed, because I love all the carbs. I love all the breads and all the pizzas and all of those things. Um, you're right. I wasn't getting enough protein. I definitely wasn't getting enough fat. And we've even been pretty good. I've always been a user of real butter and a drinker of real heavy cream. So, um, those were two big things. And then I also found that once I began to balance it out and eat what my body actually needed, I was having trouble eating all the food that I needed to eat. Like, which caused, like, in my friends and family, and probably even my husband, who was kind of here watching me do this, their concern was that I had like gone off the deep end and was eating way too much food. But in reality, I had to eat that much in order to lose weight. Like, it's a full-time job to eat as many calories as you need to eat to lose weight.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And so that's what I think is really important. What I really, really want to, like, if there's one thing I want people to learn, it's that this whole deprivation diet needs to go out the window. Because what happens, and I mean, we talked about this, when you are under eating, so your body does, um, there needs to be a calorie deficit slightly, but what happens is we just bring it down so low. And as a result, our hormones get messed up and our metabolism slows. And you do that for long, not like, and well, the other thing is if you do it short term, it'll work, right? Like if you drop your calories, you can get some weight off quickly, but then it's not sustainable. And then you keep having to drop your calories lower and lower. And then your metabolism gets messed up, your hormones, you're exhausted, you can't work out because you don't have the energy. So yes, I love to hear you say that, because that's the big thing that I want people to know, is that you do not have to undereat in order to have a lifestyle that you can sustain with weight loss. So yeah, so I love to hear you say that you find it hard to and the awesome thing is, like, because the last couple of weeks we've kind of hit a plateau a little bit with you, and what's the suggestion that we're doing is we're actually going to increase food a little bit, because you're so active and you're working out and you have that energy. And so I think, sometimes when you hit a plateau, we think, oh, I got to cut more or exercise more. But really, with what we're going to do, what you've been doing is you've been taking your food up a tick, because your body just needs it. And I think that's really, that's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about your food and what it looks like and how you get it in? And is it some extensive plan where you're, meal prepping and you have everything, or is it more like on the fly? How do you do it? And especially with a family, because tell it, like, you have 5 kiddos.
Yes.
Yes. And you homeschool.
Yep.
Before everything was going on, you were a homeschooler.
Yeah, I know, right? So let's just add another thing. Let's try to do all the things. Well, so I haven't gotten my entire family totally on board yet. So it was one of your suggestions to kind of start with me, right? And I think that's really important. As a mom, we have to set an example. So if we want these little people to, and I was talking to my own mother about this the other day. There, there are two things in this life that are so controversial. The one is money and the other one is food. And we all, growing up, we have so many strange attitudes and beliefs, and build up all of these phobias and whatnot around those two things. And I was very fortunate not to have that. I never had anyone growing up asking me why am I eating that, or, giving me bad info or attitudes about food. And I think that has kind of helped me, because I didn't have to deal with that psychological side of it, which is very real and a big challenge, I know, for a lot of people. But what I've done is kind of split the difference. So with with my family, I'm not a big meal prepper, but I'm a huge leftover maker and eater. So when I menu plan, which I have to do because otherwise I would spend $1 million on groceries, and I probably already do spend close to that, not really. But what I do when I lay out my plan for the week, I write down what days I'm going to be high fat, um, what days I'm going to be high carb, and then what my normal days are. And I always try to make a bigger meal that fits within my parameters on the first high fat day so that I have good leftovers on the second high fat day. And then I always try to make at least every other day or every 3 days, I'll make a meal that fits within my parameters that has enough leftovers for me to kind of squirrel away for other meals later in the week. And then also, I keep lunch meat on hand. I have in the past, I've like browned up some ground beef or ground turkey or ground chicken and then portion that out for myself. And then I love my low carb tortillas that I get, which, depending on who you are, maybe you can't do those, but they don't seem to mess with me like the other bready type things do. And so those are a really good way for me to help with my fiber and protein as well, because they tend to be pretty high in those things. Um, so I meal plan, but I don't meal prep like in the very traditional strict sense. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I think sometimes we also feel like we have to be so crazy with our meal prep and do all these like little individual meals and it's all set for the week. And sometimes I feel, even myself, I'm like, I get overwhelmed with that idea. And then I think if I can't do it all 100% correct, I'm not going to do any of it. That's what I've noticed in the past, which I love the way that you say it. It doesn't have to be that way. And just to clarify a little bit, so we track your macros. We have tracked macros from the beginning. And the macros, for those of you that are listening that don't know, they are the three macronutrients: your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. So they make up the three biggest energy sources of your food. And with TIffany, we do some carb cycling. We do some days of like higher fats, and then days where she's more active, we give more carbs because your body loves carbs and needs carbs to support those energy, those activities. And I know that you're doing a ton of work at your house. You're doing your deck and you're doing all this like amazing activity with your family. And that's the other thing too, I think, when it comes to eating, is that we need to, have that energy to fuel our bodies. So we do carb cycle with you. We do, higher and low. But yeah, so that's what macros are for those of you that are listening and want to know what macro tracking is. And it's just an awesome way to make sure that you're getting enough fuel and nourishment, because as I mentioned earlier, people are just afraid of food. And I'm so glad that you didn't have all that outside negative talk that a lot of women do. There's a lot, food is hard for women. And there's a lot of stigma around it and a lot of negativity, when really it should be something that you should use there should be joyous food in your life, and it should be something that's exciting, nourishing your body and eating a lot. And you do, you make amazing meals. And you love to cook though. Like that's one thing that you have going for you. You are so good in the kitchen and you love to cook. So that's a great skill to have.
Yes, it was hard won. Okay. My family had to suffer for many, many years for me to learn how to cook. And I'm still learning, but it that does make a big difference. Getting in the kitchen, being, you don't even have to like, I don't like fish. I don't really like anything that once lived in the water. And working with you, I haven't had to start eating fish. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you find out what you like and expand on that, then you'll have so much better luck. Pick some of your favorite things, fit them in or adapt them, and then enjoy them.
Yes, that's so good. That's so important, because I think a lot of people have this idea that they're on a diet and now it's time to give up everything that they love. So everything that is enjoyable goes out the window and they can't have it. And I believe that is the wrong way to do it. Now, I know just because a lot of people I've spoken to, I always suggest going gluten-free and dairy-free. However, you don't have to, because sometimes it doesn't bother people. And you're one of the people where gluten, you can handle it. right? And there's certain types of gluten that you notice bother you.
Yes, small amounts, really small amounts, like those low carb wraps, I'm okay with. But
Mhm.
we ordered pizza 2 days ago, and I had three like thin crust pieces of pizza, and man, if my back has not hurt the last 2 days. And so you really too like my husband for a long time. He has chronic pain, and he, for many years, it was very difficult to see how food can either make that worse or make it better. Now, food is not the biggest factor for him, but both of us can tell when we've eaten something that we don't normally eat.
Mhm.
Usually it's either dairy. I can't drink normal milk because it gives me headaches. And had I not been tracking my food, I never would have learned that, you know? And I can't, when I eat real bready type, anything with bread or pizza, oh, I love pizza. And I have no self control when it comes to pizza. But I just have to either make my own with my own crust or abstain because it just kills me. So I think that's, going dairy free or gluten free, and then even just reintroducing it
Yes.
slowly to figure out if that's something that you have a problem with. Or you and I have talked about too, when you're tracking your macros in MyFitnessPal, make notes. There's a little space in there to make notes about, how are you feeling today? Are you having any joint pain or any, headaches, really tired? I find irritable. Oh my goodness, eating the wrong carbs. If you eat a lot of sugar, I get mean. And I know I'm not the only one that happens to, but it's just, it can affect all the things. It can affect your physical health and it can affect your mental health, which is good news because when you start doing the right things slowly but surely, it has positive side effects within your whole life, not just your weight, not just your health.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that's so true. Yes, I love that you said that because I feel like we as a society kind of like separate it. Like it's very like, if you're having some type of anxiety or sleep issue or a breathing issue, then it's separate. It's over here. When really it's all connected together. And we're so crazy with life. Just we're so busy and we're so active. And we have deadlines and meetings and homeschool, and there's just so much going on that we don't even listen to what our bodies are telling us because we just have so much going on around us. Where tracking your food and taking notes and really like being like your own nutritional detective, for lack of a better word, is really a good way to find out what's going on because you're so right. Like our body tells us what we need. We just got to listen to it and we can't hear it sometimes because we're so busy. So I like what you said about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I was thinking about it this morning too. So much of science, I'm teaching my kids a mammals unit um, in homeschool, and so much of just the very basic idea of science is observation. And so I'm not saying we don't need doctors. Absolutely, we do. But I'm saying there are a lot of things that you can kind of figure out for yourself through daily observation. If you eat this thing and you don't feel well after, maybe you shouldn't eat that thing. Or you and I figured out that when I drink enormous amounts of coffee, I have difficulty breathing and I have higher anxiety. So, hello, maybe I need to cut back on coffee. And so those you really can kind of be a good detective and save yourself some money with those calls to the doctor that you would normally make that kind of end up being the doctor saying, "Well, I don't know," or see how long it lasts. Or and so you can also help your medical professionals too, particularly if you have a very complex medical situation, just keeping track because they're not there with you every day. It's your job to know your body. So doing that can really help anyone help you down the road.
Right. Yes, that's an excellent point. Absolutely. So when we think about your progress, I know that like starting from where you were to where you are now, it's gone up and down, right? Like this, your success, even though you've made amazing success over the past year, it has not been linear, correct? Like there have been up and downs. So can you explain a little bit about how you had the patience to know that this was going to work, like trusting the process? Because I know as a society, we want quick fixes. We want, to take a pill or to do something quick and to just have the weight come off of us. When you want long-term success on a cellular level, it takes time. It takes a long time. So how did
It,
you handle the patient? Like, how did you gain the patience?
I don't know. I think that I was, and I still am, so terrified of being in that position again, of having all that weight back on. Um, that that kind of kept me going because the longer I went, the better I felt. And I also I was very clear on the fact that I didn't want to do anything to lose weight that I wasn't willing to do for the rest of my life. So I actually didn't start working out until about 6 months ago because I didn't know if I wanted to be the type of person who worked out for the rest of my life. And when I say workout, like I'm pretty active because I have 5 kids. I mean, I have to be. But, I didn't start doing Beachbody or Pio or any of those things until probably like 6 or 7 months ago because whatever I did to take the weight off, I knew that I would have to do forever, you know? Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so I think, and also the slower something comes off, I feel like the slower it could go back on. Anyone who's done any of the, oh my goodness, all the fad diets, right? I know lots of people who have done them. I know a lot of people who have, been in kind of an emergency situation and had to do surgeries. And those, for some people, those things are very necessary.
Right.
But the difficult thing about those things is that you it's the whole teach someone to fish, they can fish forever, but if you fish
Mhm.
for them, then they really only have fish for a day.
Right.
So you begin to learn skills just on your own that really will serve you forever, and not just in weight loss, right? Like in everything. So the skills of observation, they help me know what I'm eating, but now I can transfer those skills to my kids. I'm trying to observe them. I'm trying to, my husband, as he's telling me different hurts or whatever, when we're trying to figure out some of his medical issues, now I kind of go to observation first. Well, what has changed? What have we done? And
Yeah.
so you're going to learn skills over tracking those macros, and that will serve you in so many other parts of your life. Perseverance, when you don't, when you mess up, because you will mess up, absolutely, you have to mess up, you're human. When you have that pizza at your house and you eat the entire pizza, you know log it, put it in there anyways. See, maybe you haven't eaten all your calories for the day. Maybe your dinner, because your pizza was super high in carbs and super high in fat, maybe you need to have a chicken breast for dinner to kind of round out your day. All is not lost. And if you blew it for today, who cares? Do it again tomorrow, because it's that sustained effort over time, even after you mess up, that will make it so that you can see the results you want to see slowly but surely, you know?
Yes. Oh my goodness, that's so good. Yes, and that's the thing. Like there are people who are on a wellness journey and they have a day that is quote unquote bad, and they ate foods that weren't in alignment with their wellness goals, and so they feel like it's all gone. Like all my progress is out the window. Where with you, you're so good at just knowing that hey, these are just outliers that happen, and the goal is just that you have these moments, and then you come back, and it's okay, because you should have fun at a birthday party and holidays. And yesterday was Easter. I had a lot of chocolate and I enjoyed it, but I could also tell that it affected my body. Like, I can definitely tell how sugar affects me now, which before I couldn't, because I was just, like you said, like I wasn't even paying attention to my body. So I'm aware of the food now and how it affects me. And same with you. Like, that's what you said was important. So I love that you have that mentality of like, hey, if it's a day that's not so great, or these mess ups, then that's okay. Just come back to
Oh
it.
yeah. Well, and also as you track and as you work with someone and look at, your graph, I guess, of and it's not like it's not a solid curve, right? It's like
Right.
all over the place.
Yep.
Um, you'll notice that if you're a female, there are certain weeks of the month that you will not gain or you will not lose weight. It's
Mhm.
just not possible. But once you know that, you kind of operate from that premise. Also, there are going to be weeks of the month where you might accidentally eat a small child if they walk too close to you because you are so hungry, and that generally will follow that same cycle of when you can't lose weight. And so
Mhm.
if you know those things ahead of time and try to plan for them, have more healthy foods available. Maybe you have lower energy during that time too. Well, make it easy. Make it as easy as possible on yourself. And
Yep.
and that really can help you to be successful.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that's so so true. So, oh, it's so good. Yes. So, are there any suggestions or tips that you have for somebody who is in a position that you were a year ago, and they want to start a health journey, they want to lose weight, they want to feel better, but they just feel overwhelmed because where they are now to where they want to be just seems such a large distance?
So, yeah, I was thinking about that actually. And I think the first thing I would do is probably pick your 5 favorite foods, right? Pick your 5 favorite things and make sure that either you can fit them in to your days so that you're not feeling deprived.
Mhm.
If you can't fit them in how they are, see if you can alter them a little and still fit them in somehow.
Mhm.
um, and then make sure that you are not giving up all of the joy that you might get from enjoying some of your favorite things, um, because if you feel like you have to give up all of your favorite things right away, it's not going to work. And also, I really, it's kind of kooky, but when you talk about food, when you talk about, I really try to catch myself with my kids, especially. They'll say, Mom, eat this Snickers candy bar or whatever. And I'll say, in the past, and sometimes I catch myself still, I'll say, well, I can't have that. Well, that's not really true. Honestly, I could have it. If I wanted that, I'm an adult and it's there and I could eat it, right?
Mhm.
Now, is that going to help me get closer to my goal? No, it's not. So instead of saying, I can't have that, I might want to say, that's really not going to get me where I want to be. So I'm not going to eat it right now. Maybe later I'll have it. Maybe I'll have it tomorrow. Maybe I won't. But that doesn't help me get to where I want to be. Right. So um, just kind of watching how you talk to yourself and your kids. I mean, that can really set up kids too to have a good, positive um, outlook on food, because ultimately, yes, we want to do this for us, but also we want to raise healthy, well-rounded kids who know that, yeah, it's all right to have a Snickers every once in a while, but also, it's a really good thing to eat a lot of vegetables. It's a really good thing to try some new fruits sometimes. So just don't give up your favorite things. Don't go all in nonstop. Maybe start with breakfast. Maybe start logging your breakfasts and making sure that, I on the MyFitnessPal app, they have those little bars that go across that you can watch. And I always feel like a lot of success when I finish a meal and all my bars are kind of even, so I've gotten like good proportional amounts of fats and of carbohydrates and whatever. So, and then you have to celebrate all your successes, right? So if you track your food, if tracking is difficult for you and you manage to track an entire day of food, and I have never been one to weigh anything, and I've never been like, I'll use a measuring cup, but that's about it. Like, I don't have a food scale. I've never weighed anything. I just do my best to figure out portion size. But if tracking is really hard for you and you do that for a whole day, be like, hey, way to go, me. I did that for a whole day. And then I'll try again tomorrow, you know? And track everything, because sometimes when you think you've blown it completely, you really haven't. And you still might need to eat more. And we don't want to miss out on opportunities to eat more, because I like to eat. And it's really important to not be hungry, because then you can get hangry and then people can die. So it's, that's really important.
No, it's so true. Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that. I totally agree that eating is a wonderful thing. I love to eat. I think I even eat more than my husband. And so yes, and that's what I love about this way of living, is that you don't have to undereat. But yes, so I love the tracking, and I love that you could see the visual, the scale, or the bars across. That's a great way to keep yourself in check. That's so good. Um, yeah. So, is there anything else that we want to add? I mean, your story is amazing. You've lost, how many pounds have you lost so far? It has been 82.
So I went from 240 to, I kind of go back and forth between 157 and 158.
Mhm.
So yeah, like about 82 or
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
82, 83, depending on the day.
Okay.
Um, and but also along those lines too, I felt like, especially in the beginning, I was just kind of going and going and going. And then there was one day when I woke up and I was like, holy cow, I look so much different. I felt like it was overnight once I just went and worked and did the work and did the things. And then all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I've lost like 50 pounds. How did that happen? You know?
Right.
And so it can be, and people, I really think sometimes you have to lose 25 or 30 pounds before other people even really notice it, depending on where you lose weight first.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, for me, I always lose it in the places where I don't want to lose it first. So keep that in mind. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, you just have to kind of get up every day and do the things, create habits,
Mhm.
and try to learn from when you mess up, because you will mess up. Expect that you absolutely will mess up. And that's just part of it. And when you learn from if you mess up on Saturday and then a month goes by and you realize you're messing up every single Saturday, well, maybe you're creating a habit of just doing whatever you want on Saturdays. So again, it goes back to that observation stuff, where just try to pay attention. Are you eating a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't eat because it's close to you and you're hungry?
Mhm.
Is there a way that you could put things close to you that are really falling within your your parameters of what you should be eating? And you really want to stay on top of your hunger, or even ahead of it, so that you're not getting to the point where you've got to go through a drive through, or you have a headache. I don't do fasting, which maybe I shouldn't say that, but
No.
i I get headaches. It gives me, like, I have to eat for the good of humanity. So um so I don't fast. So I see a lot of people starting stuff like this, and they'll start with fasting,
Mhm.
and it could be, maybe fasting isn't your thing, or maybe
Right.
that's like a next level skill. I haven't hit that level yet, but just because one thing doesn't work doesn't mean that you can't work around it.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I love. And that's the thing. Like there are a lot of ideas out there, and I think you have to figure out like bio individuality, what works for you. So I love fasting. It works great for me and it works great for a lot of other clients, but it's not for everybody. And that's good, because if you were to do something that you did not enjoy and you couldn't do and was aversive to you, you wouldn't do it. So yeah, so that's the other thing. And I love how you didn't start out exercising because you were focused on just getting your nutrition under control and learning about that, and then you added that in. So it was just layers that build upon each other, that you did. And I know you really are an inspiration, Tiffany. I'm so happy to have you in my life. What you've done is just amazing for your health, for your family. It's just amazing. So
Well, I feel like I couldn't have done it without you. Like
thank you.
it's really it, and that was one thing too, that if you realize that working with a coach and having accountability is something that works really well for you,
Mhm.
then that's another thing that you can apply to other areas of your life. Now that I know that working with a coach and having accountability for weight loss has worked really well, then I'm willing to apply that to other areas too. So I think, you offer a lot of different options, like one-on-one clients, you have groups, you have a lot of different ways that people can work with you. And I think it's important to find the way that works for you,
Yes.
as an individual, because not all of us want to be in a group,
Yep.
and not all of us want the heat, so to speak, of being one-on-one.
Yep.
So
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yes. And that's the thing. I don't believe that there's one thing that works for everybody. It all has to be adjusted to what you need and your environment and your life and what works for you. Because yeah, and the worst is when you're trying to do something that you're trying to fit something into your life that's just not you. And that's gonna make it hard. So like you said, you have to do something that you're willing to do, for your life, because that's how you're gonna get long-term results.
yeah,
Yeah.
amen,
Amen.
absolutely.
That's right. Oh, I love chatting with you, Tiffany. I really appreciate you coming on. And the view behind you is beautiful. That you look like you're in the Amazon. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. That's the woods
I
behind my
know.
house.
I know. I love it. Oh well, thanks again for joining in, and I will keep everyone updated. I'll post links below of ways to connect or whatever, some ideas. But yeah, thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. Have a great
Okay.
day.
You too.